In this video, you'll learn what kind of researcher are you, how to use Google to conduct high-quality research, and how to be an explorer. You probably hear conflicting messages about using sites like Google. I'm going to show you some strategies in which you can use Google to advance your research skills in sites such as a library database, which can be pretty confusing if you're not used to library databases. The first thing you need to identify before conducting research is what kind of researcher are you. There are 4 kinds of researchers: the miner, the tourist, the quilter, and the explorer. The miner is interested in finding that article or source. The objective is to do the least amount of work in order to get the greatest value of exchange. In my mind, I'm thinking I want to find the articles and sources my teacher expects in order to quickly write up this research report and get an A. If I find bad sources, I can get a bad grade. If I find great sources, then I should get an A or B for sure. The goal is the gold, not the process or journey. Most students are miners when they do research. In Google, let's say you ask the question, what is learning? You click on the first result that you see, you scan it briefly, you see that it's from aarp.org, okay, so you assume that's legitimate, and then you tell yourself, okay, 1 down, 9 more sources to go. This is the process of the miner. The tourist is interested in self-gratification. The objective is to surf the internet by our own choice. We want to go shopping, so we do research to look for the best pair of shoes. We want to make friends or dates, so we do research to look for a mate. Or maybe we simply want to learn new things. Maybe get directions to a restaurant on Google Maps. Or maybe we're interested to see whether a tiger or a lion would win in a death match, so we watch a video on Animal Planet. We've all been tourists at one point. There's no paper in mind, no person or teacher telling us to do anything. The quilter is another story. The quilter is involved with plagiarism, whether it be intentional or not. To give you the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume you're doing this unintentionally. So the main features of the quilter include copying and pasting, modifying syntax and style, minimal citing, and then not having any rhetorical purpose in mind. So let me give you an example of what a quilter would do. So let's go back to our source here. A quilter would copy and paste a paragraph onto their document. You would then proceed to find words and find synonyms. So instead of organize, you maybe change it to arrange. Humans, you change it to people. Students are pretty clever and they'll just simply delete a sentence here or there. So I just go ahead and delete that sentence. Sometimes they'll just switch them around. So they'll take this sentence and they'll just go ahead and move it over here. And the classic thing to do is to actually butcher the grammar, because a teacher will suspect that you can't write this well, right? So you'll go and intentionally create grammar errors for yourself. All these practices are examples of plagiarism. Plagiarism is not only about stealing someone's exact words, but it's also about stealing the way an author organizes claims and evidence. In other words, the way the author organizes the sentence and the way the author organizes a paragraph. Many of you are good students and you don't want to commit plagiarism. So you think, coming back to our source, alright, well, this was found on aarp.org, so I'll just simply cite that. So you come over here and then you add according to aarp.org. And then you continue to go and modify a few words and switch around stuff and delete stuff. Again, this is still considered plagiarism. If you're copying the way the author organized the claims and evidence, you can be guilty of this. Here's some advice to avoid plagiarism. You have 2 options. First off, you can just simply add quotation marks. That's easy enough, but the problem is in APA format, you don't quote often, so you can't do this for every single source. Another option is to simply reread the passage several times. Turn off the monitor, then summarize the information without looking at it once. No cheating. Even if you forget what you read, you have to force yourself to come up with your own explanation and say it in a way that makes sense to you. The big problem with piecing your sources together like a quilt is that you don't have an idea about the rhetorical structure of the paper. In other words, you don't know why you're organizing the sources the way you are. You're just more concerned about getting them into your paper. To you, it's about quantity, not quality and purpose. So this is what we're trying to change. The final researcher is the explorer. This person is concerned about discovery and involved with composition. She or he uses search engines like Google to discover keywords, synonyms, concepts, technical definitions, associations between concepts or organizations or key figures, or discover relationships she or he had never considered before. In regards to composition, the explorer is composing or writing in his or her head, or even writing down on paper, who is important, and what concepts and relationships have been established, and what connections have not been established. The explorer travels throughout a new land, wanting to understand the language and people of this new land. This is your goal as the researcher. When Lewis and Clark traveled through uncharted territories to the Pacific coast, they didn't say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Being the explorer is about having patience. Let's give this method a try with our original Google search. What is learning? The first thing I'm going to do is scroll down and see which words are associated with my bold search terms. I'm also going to look at titles. Over here, there's a link on learning theory, models, products, and process. I'm thinking, oh, there's theories on this. I wonder how many. This link says Learning Theories of Development, Overview of Learning Theories. Now I'm thinking, okay, people associate learning with development. That might be an important word if I'm going to Google my question again. When I read the short description, I see words like environmental influences on behavior. I guess this is like the nature versus nurture argument. So I'm connecting these keywords to my prior knowledge. I could even ask the question in Google. What are environmental influences on behavior? Here's my nature and nurture point. Again, I'm reading words associated with the bold search terms, and I'm reading headings. It seems that this Google search brings in the idea of genes and genetic factors. At this point, I'm not interested in genetic factors, but I didn't even think about that perspective when I initially typed in what is learning. I may want to come back to that later. Let me go back to what is my learning result. I'm going to try this link on learning theories. I like it because it has the word overview, which usually means it covers the scope of a topic. Okay, right down here we have 4 links. The last one is a quiz, which I'm not interested in right now, but these 3 suggest that there are 3 learning theories. I'm thinking, oh, I didn't know that there are different kinds of learning. And I've never heard of these terms before. I wonder if these terms are common. By clicking on each of these links, I get more terms. Over here as a hyperlink, I see this word behaviorism. So I can click on that and learn about what that is. In this link, I learn about a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. So I guess he's the one that came up with operant conditioning. On this link, I learn about observational learning, intrinsic reinforcement, the modeling process. It's important to note that none of the links I've clicked on are peer-reviewed journals or books, so I'm not going to use any of them for my research paper, but what I've gained from this research are new ways of understanding the complexity of my topic. I'm in new uncharted territories for me, and now I have a better idea of how broad this territory is. I have keywords, names, and concepts. Before, I could only think of the question, what is learning? But now I have all this new information. From this point, I have 2 options. I can either come back and refine my Google search and add my new key terms and concepts, or I can now visit the library database and use my new information in its search box. This concludes the video on how to use Google to conduct research.